chicos, chicas, and all the in-betweeners, and welcome to the first non-introduction installment of Incognito Latino, whatever you want to call it. I hope you don't mind that I have the pink print by Ms. Nicki Minaj, the Queen of Raps, in the background. But, one, I can barely function in any activity without music on in the background. And two, this album is the truth. So, if y'all were, curious about what the truth is, you should probably listen to it. But anywhoozle, I thought we might share Tecate, which BT Dubs, best Mexican beer, best everything, probably. And I would discuss the title of this program and a thing or two about what it means to be an incognito Latino, or an incognita Latina, or an incognito insert race here. So if you are white, or maybe just not really aware of racial crap, you might not know what the term passing means. And it can apply to race or sexuality or all sorts of stuff. In the context of race, it means to pass, or otherwise, it seems like you are a member of usually the white race, the Caucasian race, whatever you'd like to call it. And it applies to people who typically have lighter skin or, otherwise features and maybe vocal inflections, what have you, that make them quote-unquote seem white. In the context, by the way, of sexuality, it tends to refer to people who seem to be straight. And you'll hear terms like straight acting, or straight seeming in that context. But as far as race goes, you have a lot of interesting aspects. Oh, by the way, other terms that you might hear related to passing include light skin privilege, which is especially significant in the Latino and Black communities. And as the title suggests, it refers to benefits that are typically enjoyed by people who have lighter skin and features that appear more white. Now, what do these benefits include? And is it good or fun or beneficial or blank to be able to pass? And the answer is incredibly frustrating yes and no. And by the way, you might find that the answers to a lot of questions are both yes and no. Sorry, life is a little complicated like that, especially when you're talking about race and shit. But anywho, what are some benefits that you might enjoy if you are passing, or incognito Latino or Latina? Well, they can include things such as being considered more classically attractive, whatever that means. And this is, of course, I would say, a euphemism for Western-y attractive, white attractive, European attractive, aka you fit the beauty standard that has been the standard for, well, I should add the disclaimer that the standard of beauty in Western culture and in any culture really changes vastly over time. You just look at what Americans thought was attractive in the 30s, for women, I will say women, because generally we don't give much of a shit what dudes look like, do we? But, in the 30s, the ladies that were considered attractive were zaftig, a little curvy, different kind of makeup, different facial features, different, aspects of the body and the face that you would like to accentuate. And over time, it changed. We got this, hourglass figure happening. In the 90s, we had heroin chic, which is freaking adorable, isn't it? Let's all look like emaciated drug addicts, shall we? That's real sexy. But, tangent. Big old tangent. Overall, though, light-skinned people and people who pass as white are typically the people who are considered more attractive of a particular race by the wider culture. So if you are, more native looking, shall we say, on the Latin spectrum, you have darker skin, you've got the cute ass little nose that a lot of us be rocking, you got the curves, etc. You might not be considered as attractive as, let's say, Penelope Cruz. Penelope Cruz has light skin. She's got, signifiers that she's Latina, like I do, but that can also be applicable to other races, i.e., having darker hair, darker eyes, things like that. But someone like her is considered more attractive than someone like... See? Perfect example. We focus so much on people who pass and on people who seem to emulate that idea of Western beauty that I, a Latina woman, can't even think of a recognizable Latina icon who appears more classically, traditionally, whatever, Latina. We got Rosie Perez. Even Rosie Perez has aspects of her that are more attractive, has bodily aspects that make her kind of white. But she and women like her, or other women who embody more common aspects of, or more common features, This is what happens when I vlog with beer, by the way. That are more common among Latinas, they're not seen as attractive. Certainly not as much as women who are Latina, but white enough to be pretty. And this is huge when it comes to African American men and women. That's the community where light skin privilege is a bigger issue. And for examples of this, we look at women like, and do not confuse this with me dissing Beyonce, because Beyonce is a motherfucking goddess. But we've got women like Beyonce, and like Rihanna, and like, who else? I don't know. But we've got women of color who have lighter skin, sometimes maybe lighter hair even, body types and facial types that emulate the attractiveness measures that are more common for white cultures. And they're much more considered attractive than people, although thankfully this is changing in one instance, like Lupita Nyong'o. I can't say her name, and I apologize. Who embody more traditionally African aspects of beauty and femininity and what have you. Other aspects of passing that can be beneficial include, let's say, your name. Your name doesn't sound Latino. In my own experiences, my first name, Feliz, is fairly Latino, although it can easily be, it's not a very common Latin name. I've met like one Feliz in my entire life, although it's pretty recognizable, especially if you have familiarity with Spanish and Latin culture. Feliz Navidad. I have heard that goddamn song so many times because everyone thinks that they're so clever by saying Feliz Navidad. It's not that clever. It really isn't. However, my last name is very white. It's Ford, which is because there is a grand total of one Caucasian white dude in my lineage who just so happened to be my dad's father. And because of our patrilineal naming conventions in the West, my last name is also Ford. So people look at this name, let's say, on a resume or on an application for a school, and they think of a white woman. if my last name was any other surname in my family, Castro, Valbuena, Tejeda, you might have another story. And I know you may not want to believe this, especially if it hasn't affected your life directly, but it is a demographic statistic fact that people who apply for jobs with names that are more ethnic, aka less likely to pass as white or at least as westernized, because another aspect of passing is that some people will aim to pass to enjoy these privileges. And then we go into such territory as bleaching your skin, cosmetic surgery, changing your name, all of these things so that you will be seen as more attractive, so that you will be seen as a better job candidate, because yes, there is discrimination in hiring and admission practices based on names and based on your race. This is already super duper long, as I predicted, because I do like to go on. So I will produce another video that explains some of the cons or otherwise annoying aspects, let's say, of being a person who quote-unquote passes, or who is an incognito Latino or an incognita Latina, like myself. Don't tell me I stole Windows, I know I did. Sorry. But for now, this has been your Incognita Latina, and I will talk to y'all later about some other stuff. If you'll excuse me, I am going to listen to this album for the 80th time. Okay, bye!